What is your name?
Kirt Smith,
What branch of service were you in?
United States Air Force,
What were your dates of service?
December 1988 to July 1992.
Were you drafted or did you
I
enlist?
enlisted.
Why did you join?
Several reasons. One, I thought it was just something to do to go learn a career path. I wasn't mature enough to handle college, I don't think. So after I quit college, after my first semester, I always kind of looked forward to the military and thought that'd be a good idea. And we just decided that was something to do. And I wanted to be in the medical field, so that's what I enlisted, to be in the medical field. I had several family members, uncles, and some cousins that were in the military, and it seemed like it was good for them, and thought it'd be good for me.
Did you pick the service branch you joined?
I thought the Air Force was, like I said, I had a couple uncles that retired out of the Air Force, and of course they were always telling me that was the best branch. And I had some other cousins and stuff who were, between the Army and Navy and even some Marines. But I just thought the Air Force was where I wanted to be. I thought it looked good, and it was. I think I could learn a career in there that I wanted to get, so that's why I chose the Air Force.
How old were you?
19.
Do you recall your first days in service?
Yeah, all military branches, we have to go to basic training, obviously. And basic training is something that I don't think most people ever forget. And like I said, the Air Force, we only had 6 weeks basic training, which was another reason I think I might have chose the Air Force. But it was pretty interesting. You get there and they start yelling at you. You get off the bus and breaking you down to turn you into good military people and good charactered people by breaking you down, and then they build you back up. You learn how to work as a team. You learn discipline. You learn a chain of command. You're physically fit. But it was scary at the beginning, but by the end of it was great. You got to know all the guys you were training with real well, and made you grow up. But it was, like I say, it was scary for a while, but it made a great character out of a person doing it.
Tell me about your boot camp / training experiences.
The boot camp, basic training, as we called in the Air Force. You get there, you go through processing. You're in your civilian clothes. You start getting yelled at, and then what you're supposed to be doing and all that. And then you get in line, you get your haircuts, which they shave you all the way down. And then from there, we kind of march. That's all we do is you march, and you go get your shots. You get in line, and like they say, you have a little needle gun, and they're shooting them in your arms, and you're getting your uniforms, and they're teaching you how to fold clothes in little 6-inch squares, and making sure your uniforms are crisp, and you're hanging them up. And we could go through all that stuff, and you clean all the time, and you have inspections, and like I told you the other day, we learn how to take quick showers, you learn how to eat fast, and like our Sergeant Vargas at basic training, we had the old Big Daddy car wash shower. We all just got in the line, and each guy just went through, and one head was for getting wet, the next one was for lathering up with some soap, the other one was for rinsing it, and boom, you're out the door. And basic training was interesting and fun. And when we got towards the end, when we got honor flight, it was really great because we were able to bud in the chow line over other flights, and our drill instructor, he made sure we were treated real well after that. But basic training was interesting. And then after basic training, when I went to my medical training, which was in Texas still, I went to Wichita Falls at Shepherd Air Force Base, and there it got a little easier. You marched some at the beginning. We marched every day back and forth to class across a flight line from our dorms to our classrooms, but you were in classrooms all day long learning about the medical field and doing that kind of thing. And then from there, I went to training at Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, and that's where I did my clinical phase. So I actually worked in a hospital, and we toured through all those. And those by that time, you're kind of out of the military training as far as marching and stuff like that. You lived in your dorm, and you walked to class to your next work to the hospital at that time, because obviously I didn't have a car or anything in training there. And then after that training, I got my duty assignment.
How did you get through it?
Getting through training, like I say, you got to know your buddies that you're going through. You got to know people. I mean, obviously we were strangers when we first got there. By the time that we were done, we knew each other pretty well, and you just leaned on them, and you always just knew it was coming to an end. Eventually, you only had 6 weeks to get through. You just counted down every day. When we cleaned at night, everybody's cleaning. We had some guys that could really sing, and everybody just had the songs of the late '80s singing, I guess, is how we did it. And I, like I said the other day, when you're cleaning, we'd always fight over who got to clean the windows up high so you could look out and see the McDonald's arches out there, and you just dreamed of eating a McDonald's hamburger, after the food we were eating basic training. But that's how we got along, and we just with each other, and I think that's part of why they break you down and teach how to be a team member, and that's how we got each other through it.
What type of work did you perform while in the service?
I was a medic. I was a hospital medic, actually. I worked in the hospital in labor and delivery and the nursery. And the job I was mainly doing when I was there, that's what I did. We worked labor and delivery. So what we did, we took care of the active duty females that were having babies or dependents of the active duty person. So we were pretty busy. We had 4 labor and delivery rooms. And our job mainly as the medics, as a med tech, the enlisted person, we basically took care of the baby when after it was born. So we'd take the baby from the doctor, and then we'd put it in the warmer, start cleaning it up, and do the medical scores we had to do on them, and give them their shots and their medicine in their eyes, and treat their umbilical cord and stuff like that, and clean them up and get them back to mom. And then after that, we would take care of the babies in the nursery, and we took care of the moms. We did the initial startups, starting the IVs and stuff during labor. And that was the main job I did. And besides that, we also working in the hospital. We'd rotate through the ER and work the ER and work on an ambulance on base. And we did all the medical coverage. Since I was at the Air Force Academy, we did all the medical coverage for their sporting events and their big events. So we would assist. We'd be at the football games and the stadiums. We'd have first aid stations. We'd have ambulance standbys there. The academy, when they have their graduation, the president always comes out, and there's a lot of high-ranking officials there and politicians and stuff, besides all the family members. So we'd have the same thing there. We'd have the ambulance standbys and that. And, it was really fun being there where there's a college at, because I was able to work hockey games. I'd never seen a hockey game before, and here I was standing by in an ambulance and help get injured guys off the ice. The first time I was ever on a hockey ice. It was good. I enjoyed my time, but being a medic was what I ended up doing for my living after the Air Force too. So. Did
you request your specific job?
Yes, back when I enlisted, we were able to delay enlist. So I actually signed the papers in May of 1988 and chose the medical field. As I didn't specify what, but I just wanted something in the medical field. So I was able to get that job when it came open, and that's why I didn't go into the basic training until December that year. I waited for an opening for the medical field, and luckily I got into the medic part of it, so that was great.
Military life during those times, that's
like I said, the military, it was a lot to me being a young guy. It kind of was partly felt like being a college student. We lived in dorms, so you had a roommate, but also you were out working your career field that they were in. You also had the duties of being a military person. So it was kind of a mix, I think it was the college part with working and being taught a discipline and enjoying, that part of it, and then also being with the respect and the honor and the courage and stuff that the military instills in you. You had that, so you had some responsibilities. So it was a little different than college that way, I think, is because you're responsible for more things. But they, we had the other responsibilities that if something would happen, maybe we'd have to go to war, or maybe we'd have to do this, or maybe we'd have to move. The military, everybody moves all the time. I was fortunate enough I was there my whole time, but I had friends that moved out and moved in and stuff, just through time of either getting out of the military or it was time for them to move somewhere else. So you had that part of it, but it was, to me, it was good. It taught me my trade. I enjoyed it. We were able to do a lot of physical activity stuff. We played intramural football and year-round because we had indoor facilities since we were at the Air Force Academy. We played softball. We had basketball leagues, and so we had a lot of that kind of stuff too. So it was kind of that mixture between that college life student to the young adult working for a living, but with also the responsibilities of being in the military.
How was the food?
The food in basic training was terrible. And, I look back at it now, maybe it probably wasn't so terrible, but back then it felt like it was terrible. But actually, after that, when we're stationed in the Air Force food was really, really good. It was, most of it was buffet style. So you ate, and they also had a cook-to-order place, so you could order that stuff. But the food in the Air Force is really good.
How were the rules?
The rules, that's one thing about basic training. They taught you the rules, and you knew you had to follow them, and that's just the way it was. And the rules weren't anything too terrible, bad. But, you know, it was strict. You had certain things you couldn't do or can't do, or, you know, you obviously staying out of trouble, which is good for anybody, you know, type of thing. But, you know, you learn to respect others, and you salute officers. But the rules weren't anything terrible.
What were the hours?
Well, the hours, once I was at my duty station and working as a labor and delivery tech, we worked 12-hour shifts, so we'd work 6 in the morning to 6 at night, and then we'd rotate that every 3 months to 6 months. We'd go, one time we'd be day shift, and the next time we'd be night shift. So when we were working nights, we'd be working from 6 at night until 6 in the morning. And like I said, we rotated that every 3 to 6 months on the rotation. So we actually we'd work 2 days on, 2 days off, work 3 days, have 2 days off, work 2 days, and then have 3 days off. So every other weekend for us was a 3-day weekend.
What did you do with your free time?
Free time, we spent a lot of time doing the intramural sport type stuff that we had, playing leagues. We golf. Air Force Academy has 2 18-hole golf courses, so we got to spend a lot of time there. I mean, these are really fancy golf courses because it's at the Air Force Academy. And other than that, we just spent time going to the local sporting events too. You know, we had Denver right there close to us, so we went to Bronco football games. We went to the AAA baseball games all the time in Colorado Springs. We went to Denver Nuggets NBA basketball games. Hit the ski slopes. Just toured Colorado. Hung out with family and friends. You know, we spent a lot of time together. We had barbecues and that type of thing all the time. The uniforms that we wore, you know, starting with basic training, we had our BDUs or camouflage back in those days, and then we had dress blues, and then which would have been a suit coat on top of our blue shirts and ties, and then the medics, hospital guys, when we got to our duty stations, they had a white uniform that we wore as hospital medics, and then actually in labor and delivery we wore scrubs.
What dwellings were provided?
Enlisted single guys, or I shouldn't say just guys, men or women that are single, they live in dorms, enlisted. So I lived on base in a dorm, had a roommate. We shared showers, bathrooms with everybody on our floor, and then towards my end, we had a brand new dorms built, and we actually only had to share the bathroom with the person that lived next door, as there was a bathroom in between us. So it was a lot like what college living's kind of like. The guys that are enlisted that are married, you know, they either lived on base in base housing, or they lived off base.
What was the weather like?
The weather where I was stationed at Colorado Springs was beautiful weather. It was always nice and sunny and warm, and the summers were never too hot and the winters were never too cold. You get a bunch of snow and it was gone the next day.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Just the good conduct type medals, the basic ones, and that's about it.
How did you get them?
Just basically doing your job and following the rules and doing outstanding performance in your job. That's how you earn them.
The highest rank you achieved?
I was a senior airman. Was the highest I got right before I got out.
How did you stay in touch with your family?
Back in those days, obviously there was no cell phones, or the internet wasn't easy to get a hold of and anything like that. So basically, talking to my family, I would usually we'd talk by telephone.
Was there something special you did for good luck?
No, not really. There was nothing good luck. I had special shoes, I guess, that I always wore when I worked in labor and delivery, tennis shoes that I always wanted to make sure I had those on, just so I knew my day wouldn't go bad that day.
Tell me about your commanding officers.
Most of our commanding officers in the hospital are always pretty good. I mean, you know, it's not really strict inside the hospital atmosphere as it needs to be out in the field type atmosphere. So our commanding officers were always really good. Hospital type administrators is what they were, basically.
How did people entertain themselves?
Basically, you know, like we said, we live in stateside and being stationed here, we kind of did what anybody that would do that lived here. Basically, we always hung out together, watched sporting events on TV. If we weren't out playing the sports, played lots of cards. Yeah, that's one thing I think in the military a guy learns. You learn how to play a lot of cards. You can play the spades and pitch and stuff like that all the time.
What did you do when you were on leave?
Basically, when I went on leave here, I mean, I was only 7 to 8 hours away from home. So I would come back here once in a while, back home on some of them. Otherwise, we went up to the mountains and hung out there.
Did you go anywhere on leave?
No, we just pretty well stayed around and came back home maybe.
Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events?
Unusual, as far as for me being a young guy that didn't really know a bunch about anything when he went in. Some of the unusual things were good things, I guess. Was labor and delivery is unusual at the same time for me because I didn't really know much about it. And then the good things, though, I mean, it was labor and delivery. Where else could a person work that isn't better than that? You see life coming in. So those are always the good things. Difficult deliveries happen quite often. And one of the times there was a baby that we just couldn't get out, and the doctor actually had his arm